Welcome to the first and only Hungarian History Podcast, a journey through the victories, tragedies, and untold stories of a nation that stood as Europe's shield for centuries. I am Szántai Gábor from Budapest, and this is more than history telling, it's a mission to bring back Hungary's overlooked and misrepresented past to the world. 10 years ago, I began telling Hungarian history into the silence of the English-speaking social media, because no one else would. I saw a void, a deliberate void, where our castles, heroes, and sacrifices would have been, a story untold, a legacy ignored. What does the world know about us? Ask the world what it knows of Hungary, and you will hear whispers of goulash, lost world wars, and a few revolutions. But who speaks of the 1,000-mile wall of flesh and steel we manned for 300 years? The borderland, the Hungarian-Croatian borderland, wasn't just a frontier, it was the dike holding back the Ottoman tide, sparing Vienna, Venice, and the West from ruin. It separated the luckier part of Western Europe from the embrace of the Ottoman Empire. But it is not in school books in Europe, however, it should be emphasized. Every British child learns of Hadrian's Wall. The Roman limes are studied with care. Yet, our living fortress, this 1,000-mile bulwark that guarded Europe for 3 centuries, receives barely a mention. The same soil that gave rise to the legendary hussars, those warriors who changed the face of cavalry warfare, is somehow deemed unworthy of the history books. This goes beyond mere oversight. When such pivotal history is consistently excluded, it becomes something deeper, a quiet forgetting of Hungary's central role in defending European civilization. After years of waiting for others to take action, I have realized some truths must be spoken plainly. On the other hand, some facts are commonly known, like the one that Hungarians suffered a crushing defeat at Mohács in 1526. But what is often overlooked is that the Hungarian army was not a hastily assembled, obsolete band of inexperienced troops. It was one of the largest field armies of a European king could muster at the time. It was equipped with the latest pike and shot units, armored cavalry, and semi-heavy hussars. Contrary to popular belief, the Turkish cannons didn't win the day. In fact, most cannonballs flew harmlessly over the charging Hungarians' heads. This battle was crucial, but it cannot be reduced to the superficial portrayals often seen on social media. And yes, social media is where 74% of the world gets its information. But for Hungarians, it is rarely friendly ground. If our stories aren't there, do they even exist? And when they are often told through the lens of others who don't know the full story or choose to distort it. While nations like the Irish, Scots, and Turks proudly showcase their history, ours is buried under misconceptions and silence. Why is this? Are we inferior to other people? Where are the stories of Árpád, Saint Stephen, and King Matthias? Where are the tales of Eger Castle and the Black Army? What was happening in the rest of Europe at the same time? The truth is, technological progress hasn't brought us closer to the world. If anything, it has magnified the divides, especially in Eastern Europe. For example, there are photos flooding the Facebook where we can see nice Hungarian castles without their Hungarian names or any reference to our history. In the comments, I see the anger and frustration of Hungarians who feel their history has been erased. This war of castles has to be stopped, and education is the best way to achieve peace. This podcast is here to fill the gap, to tell the world that Hungary was not a prison of nations, but a bastion against the constant attacks by the Ottoman Empire. That we were in fact not barbarians, but the defenders of Europe. This podcast is for everyone, Hungarians and non-Hungarians alike. It's about the history of the Carpathian Basin and the people who have called it home. This podcast is about connecting people. Who am I talking to? Are you a Hungarian or a person of Hungarian descent living in a diaspora? Over 5 million of you are scattered across the globe, rediscovering your roots through DNA tests and family history. Or are you a Hungarian in the neighboring country? If so, you are probably fighting to preserve your language and culture in Transylvania, Slovakia and beyond. You would certainly want to inform the world that your Hungarian legacy is a treasure and not something of which to be ashamed. Are you a non-Hungarian in Central Europe whose history is intertwined with Hungary's? Who will tell you that we are not enemies, but we have fought side by side for centuries? Take Prince Rákóczi Ferenc for example. During his fight for independence between 703 and 1711, he called the Ruthenians his most faithful nation. If the Ruthenians and Slovaks hadn't joined forces with the Hungarians against the Habsburgs, perhaps our history would be very different, or we would not exist perhaps. Are you a history enthusiast? Every nation has contributed to the survival of our civilization in Europe. Some of our ancestors may well have fought on the battlefields in Hungary against the Ottomans and rest in Hungarian soil. If you are curious about Hungary's role in defending Europe, this podcast is for you. While my Facebook page focuses on the Ottoman Wars, this podcast will explore every era, from Árpád to Trianon and beyond. I chose the Ottoman period because it shaped Hungary's in ways we are still grappling with today. The ethnic losses we suffered laid the groundwork for Trianon, a wound that still festers. It's time to understand our past and start healing. On Facebook, my page called Hungarian History has 51,500 followers and reach about 1 million people or more every month. It was launched 10 years ago, but it was just the beginning. I have also created 2 groups, Hungarian Ottoman Wars with 2,100 members and Hungarian History and Culture Without Borders with 17,000 members. There are no other groups like this on social media. What makes mine truly unique isn't just the content, but the people behind it. Among my admins are not only Hungarians, but also Americans, Irish, Greeks, Australians, Slovaks, Romanians, and even a Turk. Together, we are building bridges and not walls. To protect my work from Facebook bans, I started a self-hosted website with 970 articles, including English descriptions of 401 Hungarian castles and 45 churches. This page attracts about 3 or 4 views a month and has become a valuable resource for anyone interested in Hungarian history. Also, I have created a Google Map platform where I have placed so far these 401 castles. I also indicated not only their Hungarian but also their Slovak, Romanian or German names with links to my page where anyone can read their description in English. This map has already received almost 300,000 views. Mind you, our history isn't exclusively about Hungarians. Yes, the Ottoman Wars were fought on Hungarian soil, and Hungarians bore the brunt of the losses. Yet, I will not forget the countless others who fought alongside them: Germans, Croats, Serbs, Wallachians, Romanians, and even mercenaries from Italy, Spain, England, France, Scotland, and Ireland. Look, beneath Budapest's southern railway station lie the mass graves of foreign soldiers who died liberating Buda Castle in 1686. Their sacrifice deserves to be remembered too. On the other side, there were Ottoman armies, made up of countless ethnicities forced to fight under the Sultan's command. A Turkish friend in my group once compared the Ottoman wars in Hungary to a Vietnam War. "We suffered tremendous casualties," he said. This podcast is about their history as well. Let me tell you a few words about my goal. My goal is simple: to make the world aware of the true importance of these wars. Without them, Europe would be a very different place. This podcast aims to fill the gaps left by school curricula, offering a Hungarian perspective on events that shaped our continent. But let me repeat, this isn't about glorifying just one nation. It's about understanding a complex, shared history. The Hungarians didn't stop the Ottoman Empire alone. It was a joint European effort. Yet, without Hungary, Europe as we know it might not exist. The stakes were high. It is not commonly known either that the Ottoman Wars lasted not for just 150 years, but for longer than 300. They devastated Hungary, stunting our population growth and wiping out entire settlements. In 1490, we had 4 million inhabitants, predominantly Hungarians. By 1699, Hungary's population was still 4 million, but the Hungarians' ethnic rate was much lower. In comparison, England's population doubled from 4 million to 8 million during the same period. The road from Buda's fall in 1541 to Trianon in 1920 was a straight one. Hungary was torn into 3 parts in 1541, and some historians call this partition the First Trianon or the Small Trianon. Who says that these are not timely questions? There is a need to talk about historical background so that Hungary may claim its proper place on the pages of history. This is my personal connection to history. My love for history began early. I studied at ELTE University in Budapest, graduating as a teacher and community educator. I have always been drawn to history, not just as a subject, but as a living, breathing connection to who we are. As a HEMA, Historical European Martial Arts fencer, I wield the longsword, not just to practice a skill, but to feel the weight of the past in my hands. I am not the best fencer, but every moment I spend practicing HEMA feels like a step back in time. Every swing is a tribute to those who came before us, a reminder that their struggles and triumphs are still alive in us today. An example is Hunyadi János, one of the greatest military leaders of the 15th century. Not many people know that he was also skilled in the martial art of the longsword. He learned it under the tutelage of Pippo of Ozora, Hungary's renowned general of Italian descent. Later, Hunyadi spent years in Italy, where he likely perfected the art of Fiora de Liberi, the Italian style of long-sword fighting. When I practice Hima, I feel a connection to figures like Hunyadi, warriors who shaped Hungary's destiny with both strategy and skill. It's a reminder that history isn't just about dates and battles, it's about the people who lived it, fought for it, and passed it down to us. Yet, my devotion to history is rooted in something more personal. My family was deported from Slovakia to Budapest in 1946, and as a child I visited a lot my relatives still living there in the 1970s. In Czechoslovakia, I witnessed the struggles of Hungarians living outside of Hungary's borders. In my 20s, I traveled through Transylvania, Romania, and saw firsthand the resilience of the Hungarian community there. It was the 1980s, and under the dictator Ceausescu's regime, the Hungarian minority clung to their history as if their very survival depended on it. For them, history wasn't just a subject, it was a lifeline. Taking away their past was the first step in erasing their identity. Preserving history is just as important as preserving language. Does history really matter that much? History has always been weaponized by those who seek to divide us. Warmongers twist the truth to alienate neighbors and justify their agendas. But if people know their history, they can't be so easily manipulated. As a Hungarian, I tell history from a Hungarian perspective, as I have access to Hungarian historical sources. Since 2016, I have relied on the works of Hungarian scholars, translating and summarizing their research into English. In future episodes, I will invite historians who are experts not just on the Ottoman Wars, but on every era of Hungarian history. Speaking of the Ottoman Wars, let's clarify a few things. In Hungary, we often call this period the Turk Age, but the truth is more complex. The Ottoman armies in Hungary were rarely made up strictly of ethnic Turks. According to contemporary payrolls, 98% of the soldiers in Ottoman-held castles were Albanians, Serbs, or other southern Slavs. Real Turks appeared in greater numbers only during major campaigns led by the sultans. Although these wars weren't fought between nation-states as we understand them today. They were dynastic wars. Loyalty to the monarch, religion, and homeland mattered more than language. But the consequences of these conflicts are still felt today. There are many misconceptions about this period. Some claim Hungary ceased to exist after 1526. Others don't play the Hungarians' role in these wars. We can't deny that today the way these wars are portrayed has a direct impact on politics. On one hand, Western media credits the Habsburgs with stopping the Ottomans. On the other hand, Eastern media glorifies the Ottoman Empire as a beacon of tolerance and progress. Both narratives are oversimplified and misleading. The truth is, the Ottoman Wars left a devastating legacy. Eastern Europe paid a high price for defending Western civilization. The ethnic and cultural changes, the tradition of corruption, the industrial and social backwardness, these are the scars we still bear. I personally drew courage from Zrínyi Miklós, in Croatian Nikola Zrinski. He was a famous Hungarian Croatian statesman with double identity. He was a general and a poet. Let me quote his words from his military essay, The Valiant Lieutenant. He wrote between 1650 and 1653. This is the dedication of his work.
Bones of Hungarian warriors buried with honor in ground, and the shadows of the souls of those who created peaceful settlements for them with the edge of swords from one end to the other, from one sea to the other for long centuries. Do not let me sleep when I wish to, do not let me rest when I want to. I adore their glory so much that I will not forget their warnings that I receive not only during my daytime reflections but even at night, reminding me. Do not sleep, stop seeking joys. Can you see our decaying country that we conquered, defended, and protected through so much bloodshed, battles, and relentless labor? Follow our footsteps and do not spare your blood, do not spare your life. I am encouraged by such words when I rest. Unlucky me, I do not have as obvious excuses before them as tremendous prowess and innumerable achievements they have before me. Because I might obviously complain to them about fortune. Not because once it took our country high while now it is pushing Hungary lower and lower. We have nothing to complain about as we know that this is a general law of nature, like the fact that one who was born will die once, as this is God's will. With honor, the Hungarian fate had been on the upper part of the wheel of fortune for long, and if it has been lower now, nothing unusual happens to it in this world. And I would complain about fortune because despite such talent, my readiness to serve my country, and my ambitions, I was positioned in the century of the decay of Hungary instead of those magnificent times when God was merciful to Hungarians and did not turn his face away from them but made lives terrible for those who are now looking at us with disgust and are mentioning us with disregard. This spirit inside me would have found glorious businesses on its own inclination, which would have brought brilliance for the Hungarian crown through labor if nothing else. But what can I do about present times so that I did not sleep or idle? Perhaps our time requires such an attitude. What should I dedicate my blood to, not sparing my life? What shall I wish to die for? Who will I redeem or liberate with that? My life is insufficient to remedy such a trouble, and my death is even more insufficient. What shall I then do? By God's Holy Spirit, I am ready for anything to serve my Lord and my country. That should be enough. What shall I do when I do not sleep? You, Hungarians, world famous for splendid deeds, I have read all chronicles of your brilliant deeds, I have learned them, have been encouraged by them, they make me study the heroism of the Romans and then write this little booklet for my own memory. I dedicate it, therefore, to your glorious memory and bones buried with honor.
The words of Zrínyi Miklós remind us that history is not just about the past, it's about who we are and who we can become. Please join me as we uncover these truths and ensure that Hungary's legacy and its role in shaping Europe are never forgotten. If you have been moved by these stories, don't let them fade into history. Share this podcast with friends, subscribe to future episodes, and spread the word. Together, we can reclaim our past and inspire future generations. In our next episode, we will explore how the Ottoman Wars are viewed from different perspectives, and we will outline the key events of the Ottoman Wars. Don't miss it. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Viszont hallásra!